Okay, all right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming today. Uh, this is going to be our seventh Southern Steelhead Coalition meeting, so thank you all for joining me. We have a packed house today. So on the agenda for today's meeting is just a quick hello and updates. We'll have our great speaker from Los Padres Natural Forest, Juliana Matos, and she'll talk about strength in numbers partnering to protect Los Padres National Forest. There'll be a question and answer period for Juliana. And then we'll have a coalition partner prioritize project updates, which is a standing item. And then restoration projects that the coalition members have considered, which is also our open discussion time where you can have announcements from coalition members. And I think today, Bill Leahy from Legacy Works would like to start off the open discussion. He'll be the first person to go up, and then I'll open up the rest of the floor to everybody else. Okay, so for quick updates, so Tree People and the Coalition are having an educational event, a free educational event. We're going to be in the upper Santa Clara River, and we'll be walking through the Santa Clara River and talking about Steelhead and conservation of water, the Safe Clean Water Program. If anybody would like to come, or if you know anybody who would be interested in this, there is an Eventbrite, and I'll be posting these slides later with the link so you can RSVP to it. Like I said, it's free, and we'll be having our tribal liaison, Elena, give a little bit of talk. I'll be speaking, and Amanda Bagley from the Tree People will also be speaking. And then I had a couple questions about this from different events and emails. Anybody who wants to join these meetings, please feel free to forward this to them. This is not like an exclusive club. This is just a coalition meeting. All we ask is that people don't forward it to people who might profit off of it, like people use it for, I don't know, try to make money off of this. This is a open space, and we just ask for people not to invite bad actors who might want to disrupt the meeting or like I said, again, profit off these meetings in a weird way. And I know that sounds weird. We've never had a problem with that before, but just to stipulate, that's the only reason that we would ever not invite anybody. But if there's somebody in your office who's like, hey, I would love to join this meeting, I'm on the invite list, you can just forward this to anybody. And email me, and then I'll put them on our email list chain that I send out every time there's a coalition meeting. And again, if there's something you'd like the coalition to talk about or direction you'd like to go into it, we have the anonymous survey, which I check regularly to see if anybody wants, please talk more about this, please talk more about regulations, please talk more about monitoring, or I want to learn more about restoration programs. We can take this coalition meeting in any way that's helpful for everybody else. Not so you just have to sit here for an hour and a half, but so you actually get something out of it. And then finally, our next meeting date for our eighth coalition meeting is going to be in May 14th. And again, feel free to send these meeting invites to all interested parties. And then here is a wonderful banner of our teaching of the educational event. It's called River and Steelhead Teaching Tour. And that is again with a partner with the Coalition and Tree People. It's a free event. Okay, now that we've gotten through some of the minor details, I would like to welcome our speaker, Julie Matos from the Forest Service, Los Padres National Forest Watch, or Forest Service, sorry. And she's going to be talking about watershed scale restoration techniques to promote native and Samonid habitat following wildfires. All right.
That's not the title. So I
Oh.
will be I will be talking about that, but that's okay. You had the title right in your intro slide, and I've got a slide here,
Oh my
a
goodness. You know
presentation
what?
I'm gonna share.
I'm so sorry. This is an old slide. I
That's
apologize.
okay. No,
I'll
all
edit
good.
it. I'll edit this before. I know it seemed wrong when I was reading. I was like, this seems like old. I think I have an older version of the PowerPoints. Apologies, but
No, no
I'll fix
worries.
that when I send it out.
Okay, yeah, all good. I'm gonna share my screen here.
Please do.
Okay. Does everyone see that? Yes?
Yes.
I see
Okay.
it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, hey everyone. My name is Juli Matos, and I'm the partnership coordinator for Los Padres National Forest. I was invited to talk here today by Russell Marlowe and Elizabeth Burns. So thanks so much for having me. I'll be giving a short talk introducing myself and my role as partnership coordinator for the forest. And I'll also be highlighting some of the steelhead related projects that we have ongoing, and then finally touch on some of the concerns related to recreation and water quality at the Santa Paula Creek. I know that that's an issue that is important to this group, so I wanted to make sure we had a little bit of time to touch on it. I've got two of my colleagues here today, Marshall Alford, who's our Ojai District Ranger as of last month, and Christy Close, who's our forest fisheries biologist. And I'll probably be calling on them to help out with Q&A at the end, since they're the kind of subject matter experts. So first, let's start out with a brief overview of the forest. So the Los Padres National Forest spans 1.8 million acres. It contains over 1,100 miles of perennial stream habitat, supports 27 federally protected animal species, including the steelhead trout. So we have this huge stretch of land with tons of valuable natural and cultural resources, but we have limited staff to carry out all the work that's necessary to protect and foster those resources. So partnerships are a key component for our work, and we currently have 47 grants and agreements with 35 different partners across the forest, and we really couldn't do it without them. And CalTrout is one of those partners, so we just want to say thank you so much to CalTrout. I saw that Mo was on the call from South Coast Habitat Restoration. They're also a great partner of ours, and there's probably at least a few others in there. So, yeah, just want to say thank you to anyone who has worked with us in the past or is interested in working with us in the future. But to help manage those partnership agreements, the forest hired a partnership coordinator. So that's where I came into the picture. And my role as a partnership coordinator. So, first, we haven't had a partnership coordinator on the Los Padres for over a decade. So, there was a little bit, this last year plus that I've been here. We've been kind of readjusting and figuring out how this position fits into, the systems and processes that were going on for over a decade, and trying to figure out how we can be more efficient and use my role to really help things move a little bit more smoothly when it comes to partnerships. So, as a partnership coordinator, I develop, coordinate, implement, monitor, and evaluate the forest partnership program. And that includes identifying and pursuing grant funding opportunities, tracking and managing all of our grants and agreements, and then also managing our volunteer coordination program. So, my goals are to identify and pursue new partnerships, strengthen the ones that we already have in place, and then link funding with project needs. And this last point here is an important one because, there are often times where we can get excited about a funding opportunity, with a partner. A partner comes to us, they say, oh, we've got this money we want to work with you on. We're like, okay, amazing. We start going down the line of talking about scope of work and this, that, and the other. And then when it comes time to getting it approved by our forest supervisor or even some of our district rangers, it may come to light that it doesn't quite align with our forest priorities. And thus, we can't allocate appropriate staff time to be able to successfully implement that project, or we might not be able to provide funding on our end to help carry the project out. So it's really important that we kind of strike that balance between letting our forest priorities kind of lead the way, right? So using that as our base for here's what our priorities are, what our needs are, and then using that to go after funding that aligns with that rather than the other way around where we might find ourselves, in a bit of a pickle or like we've got a partner that's excited to work with us and then we have to go back to them and say, actually, we can't accept that money or we can't move that project forward because it doesn't align with our forest priorities. So that's just something to keep in mind as we're pursuing funding opportunities, is that we want to make sure that there's alignment so that things can run smoothly and we can get the necessary approvals and kind of sign offs by both the district level and the forest soup level, to make sure that those projects can be carried out well. Next, I want to just highlight a few of the steelhead trout related projects that we have ongoing. Two of these are ongoing, and then two of these are already complete. So the first is the Rose Valley Creek Restoration Project. And I am going to do a little bit of reading here. Thank you to Christy Close for helping me come up with these project descriptions and updates as our subject matter expert. So in the 1950s, the Seabees with the U.S. Navy constructed 3 man-made lakes as water management features in the Rose Valley Creek in the Rose Valley area. And today, the lakes are the primary conduit of warm water invasive species to the wild and scenic Sespe Creek. And through this project, native biota will benefit by removing the lakes and reconnecting the upper and lower Rose Valley Creek to cold water refugia near the falls. And right now, that project has the restoration component is in a bit of a hold while our recreation staff develop design plans to augment the campsites in that area. So we look forward to getting that moving forward once we're able to come up with those design plans. Next, in that project, I do want to highlight that project is with Cal Trout. So we're excited to be partnering with them on that one. These next two, we're partnering with South Coast Habitat Restoration. So the Wheeler Gorge Campground Aquatic Organism Passage Project includes 4 hardened crossings in the campground that will be removed and replaced by 2 clear span bridges that will allow water to flow freely underneath the bridges. And so the removal of those crossings, which were complete impediments to steelhead migration, will add 13 miles of stream habitat. So that's really awesome. I'm really excited to see that one move forward. And that project implementation is set to begin in July of this year. So just a few months away. The Manzana Creek Sediment Reduction Project. So that project implemented erosion control and sediment prevention measures at 33 active road sediment source sites along McKinley Mountain and Catway roads. And the expected outcome is to control and prevent over 1,400 cubic yards of episodic storm-driven sediment delivery and over 3,600 cubic yards of chronic sediment delivery over the next decade from road runoff. So that project has been complete. So that's really awesome to see. And then the last one I want to highlight here is the Manzana Watershed Interpretive Panel. So those panels were developed in collaboration between the Chumash and Blue Tomorrow to educate visitors on the Native American Chumash history of the forest, traditional uses of plants and animals, and other traditional land and fire management practices. And it also highlights the endangered Southern California steelhead and their protection and regulation and the life history of steelhead and impacts from fire. So that project is also complete. Those panels are already in place, and you can see here that they've got some really great education for the public. So now moving on. Oh, sorry. There we go. Moving on to the Santa Paula Creek issue. So this is a site that has a ton of visitation of folks going up to the punch bowls. And unfortunately, there isn't a bathroom at the trailhead or any signage, letting people know that there isn't going to be any more bathrooms along the trail, or providing any kind of like conservation education messages like leave no trace, or, just generally educating people on how to respect the land. So as a result, the trail is littered with used toilet paper, feces, trash, broken glass, and a lot of rocks and trees are tagged with spray paint. And the creek is also heavily polluted with E. coli, human coliform bacteria, viruses, and trace metals below the punch bowls, though we have seen good water quality found above the punch bowls within the Sespe Wilderness. So I just wanted to take a moment to, acknowledge that the forest is aware of this issue and aware of the severity and importance of resolving it. And here are just some of the ideas that have been discussed over time. Things like installing a bathroom and that educational signage at the trailhead. Something that's worked on other forests, and we're not necessarily, I'm not advocating for this right now. I'm just kind of raising different ideas that have been brought up. Something that's worked on other forests is seeking support from local sheriffs to help keep some of that vandalism down, enforcing no parking at the trailhead to kind of deter the amount of people that are visiting the site. Are I think that that's something that maybe we would less prefer to, limit recreation in that area, but it's clear that it's kind of being overrun by too many people that aren't recreating in a respectful manner. And then also partnering with local groups for cleanups. Though some concerns there are how, what there might be some safety concerns with like university students, being confronted when they're cleaning up the graffiti, for example. So, um, I know that, like I mentioned, our new Ojai District Ranger Marshall is on the call, and he is open to answering some questions that folks may have, if there are any. So, I just want to say thank you in advance to him, and if there are questions on the Steelhead projects that I mentioned in the earlier slides, Christy is also here and happy to answer questions. So, I just want to wrap it up by the message that we really are better and stronger together. And we really thank all of your support on the forest. So, yeah, thank you very much. And thank you for giving me the time to talk here today.
Thank you so much, Julia. That is, wow, short and sweet and right to the point. Yes. So right now I would like to give everybody the opportunity to ask questions. It is our question and answer time. And sorry, would you like Juli or Juliana?
Yeah, just Huli is good.
Okay,
Thanks.
Juli. So if you said the ranger was here too, if he wants to come in and jump in, feel free to have any
I'm here.
staff who's here. Yeah, any staff who's here who wants to jump in, go ahead. Candace, please start.
Oh, I was going to say, Friends of the Santa Clara River does do a lot of volunteer days. So when you have that volunteer cleanup day, we'd be happy to share that with our membership and join in on the effort. And then my question was, what is the timeline on Rose Valley Lakes and the recreation design component? Because when do we envisage that one moving forward?
Yeah, thanks, Candace. Thanks for offering up the help with volunteering. And for the Rose Valley question, I'll pass it over to Christy.
Well, thanks, Candace, for putting me on the spot. I'm just kidding. Uh, Great question. You know, uh, it's gonna come down to having some really hard conversations with the new forest supervisor that you know that we're gonna have and Marshall. And I think we need to sit down and talk about um, coming into alignment with recreation and doing that as a parallel action and moving that forward. So hard to
Yeah,
give you.
a little bit of context and I'm new, so I'm coming into understanding this myself, but it sounds like we have a really good strategy to address some of the concerns we have with restoration, but we are lacking a couple of components to address recreation management in that same area. So as we can get those two design criteria to line up, we'll be able to have that project visioned to move forward on implementation. So we have a little catch-up work to do on the recreation management side of things, and then be able to merge those two objectives together. Is that about right?
So just a follow-up question. Has the new forest supervisor been hired? Because when Bill and I had a Sentinel Landscape Partnership meeting, there was an acting supervisor. Has the new supervisor been hired?
It's on hold.
So yeah, the hiring actions are on hold. We do have a forest supervisor covering the Los Padres National Forest from the Ashley. His name is Ramon Torres.
Okay.
So
Oh, do you have any more
sorry.
follow-ups? Go ahead.
So
Go
I
ahead.
suppose my question is it's obviously an internal process, right? The aligning the two design criteria. I mean, I'm just trying to understand if and how, this coalition can be supportive, or is it aligning with NIMS requirements, or is it purely a Forest Service constraint?
I think once we understand how there might be some intersections with the recreation program, we can, offer up what that work is, and if you guys are interested in supporting that, we're welcome of opportunities to collaborate. I know the primary objective is probably going to be on the resource side of the project, but we're open to working collaboratively across these program areas as well, where it does benefit the resource to manage recreation. I think there could be a nexus. And as far as your earlier question goes about a time frame, I don't have a time frame to offer up right now on when we expect to merge those design criteria together. That's just our trajectory, is to address both at the same time.
So Candace, do you have any more questions, or happy to keep the conversation going?
I mean, I don't mean to be like difficult. It's just that this project has kind of been pending for a while, for years really. And it's a priority project for the coalition. And I'm just like, to what degree can we be helpful? I mean, to say that there is no timeline. I mean, we're working with a critically endangered species. How is that an appropriate answer for a federally endangered species?
It's one that is to say I don't have an answer on when we're able to address that recreation component. So it's speaking from the recreation side of things. We don't yet have the design criteria merged together. And when we were talking about our forest prioritization and planning process, I think it's an effort to try and respect how we have to manage all of our project workload together as a forest in order to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say, I was at the Parks rally advocating against, federal employees being dismissed. So I totally am aware of the constraints at the Forest Service right now. And I know that Los Padres National Forest has been impacted by that too. And that's why I'm saying, as a coalition, how can we be supportive in helping raise the importance with management about moving these design criteria forward? Maybe it's a letter from the coalition. This has been a priority project that, crikey, I even worked on this project ages ago. So it just would be nice to see these priority projects moving forward. I mean, that's really what this coalition is about, is moving priority projects forward. And if you think a letter from this coalition would be helpful, then I would, be supportive of something like that.
I totally echo those sentiments, to be honest. This is something Russell Marlowe has been working on for years, and I've heard some of the stuff, the back and forth. So I think it's something that I'm passionate about. Russell's passionate, the coalition's passionate about, as you can see. And I think having any help, anything you need, right? I totally echo the sentiments Candace said. It has been a long prioritized project, and we'd love to see it move on and start implementation because of how important it is and how recreationally important it is for all these different members of our community too, not just for fish, but for the people that live here too. They want to be able to use this amazing area, and it's such an important stronghold for Steelhead. So I really would thank you, Candace, for bringing that up. And let us know, Marshall, what is needed from us to help out.
You're certainly welcome to send the forest a letter indicating support at any time. However, I think some of the best opportunities to move the project forward on the recreation side might be helpful for a letter once we identify some of those directions that we may be trying to pursue funding or improvements for recreation improvements to the sites. Once we identify where we're trying to implement that recreation part, a letter of support to those audiences might be really helpful. I don't have those off the top of my head right now, but we can follow up with you at a later time about where that engagement can be best leveraged. And we would find that very helpful. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much. And yes, we're here to help get this project going along and understand how tough the times are. I'm gonna go to the next question. Their name is 125762. You've been having your hands up for quite a long time.
Hi. No, I didn't realize that my name wasn't up there. This is Abigail Comfrey with Ventura County Planning Division. And I just had a couple comments on the Punch Bowls project. Have you folks considered partnering potentially with the Ventura County Parks division? And I don't know how well your communication is with the sheriff's office, but I know that we could also help, or I could also help with facilitating those meetings or connections. So that's all I was going to say.
Well, I would appreciate being new, the introduction to that conversation, and we'll be. I know that I'll be catching up on what some of those relationships have been in the past. So maybe we can follow up separately and talk about how that's gone and maybe where it could go in the future.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a question for Huli. Are there any partnerships that you would like to start up or you're looking forward to reaching out to? Maybe some people in these calls, in this call right now could be stepping stone or are looking to reach out with you. What's something that you're looking forward to working with or people you're looking forward to working with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know that we are trying to develop more of a formal partnership with the Chumash tribe. So we've been working on developing an agreement with them to, yeah, I mean, we do a lot of work with them already, but more informally. And so we're excited to identify some joint priorities and get that moving forward. We are trying to put some agreements in place with CAL FIRE, some good neighbor agreements. That's an effort that's happening across the entire region. So that's also one that we are currently working on. And I've also been in talks with Cal Poly SLO to see if we can get some more engagement with their student body across multiple departments, not just with their natural resources or environmental science folks, but also potentially with like their engineering department, their rec department, because there's a lot of great projects that we could have some good overlap on with those students. So yeah, we've got a few kind of things cooking that we're working on getting through. So those are some that come to mind.
Sounds very promising. Sounds like some really fun stuff in the future. Does anybody else have any questions for Huli? If not, we can always go on to if you guys want to stay for the open discussion towards the end. I know a lot of people are going to be wanting to talk about different things, but feel free to jump in if anybody would like to ask any questions. If not, I have one more question for Huli, or the organization as a whole. What is like one project that you are looking forward in the future that you want to tackle or partner up with? What's something that you're like, this has been on our radar. We just haven't had the capacity right now to do it, but this is on the top of our list.
That's a good question. Christy, do you have one at the top of your head that you can think of?
Well, I think it would be nice to get rid of the Mono debris basin, but no one ever brings that up. But I think that would be a good one to tackle. But I think that's because it's not critical habitat for steelhead per se, but it does open up, I don't know, like probably 50 miles of habitat for rainbow trout. But I mean, technically, but someday if we could remove some of those or add fish ladders, it would be, steelhead, but it would add a tremendous amount of habitat to steelhead, rainbow trout, micas. But yeah, mono debris basin, get that out. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Christy, can you put the name of that basin in the chat just for spelling? Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just going to ask a little bit more information about that, or if anybody else has any information on that, want to chime in, feel free. I'm unfamiliar with that.
Or a Google Map pin drop would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Asimo, you're unmuted. Did you want to chime in?
Yeah, sorry, thanks. I just wanted to add that I've been talking to a few folks, and we were thinking about maybe doing a little long backpacking trip, leaving from Carpinteria over to Mono at some point. If anybody's interested, hit me up, and maybe we can plan for something later this spring, summer, if the trails are safe and we can get back that way. If not, I'd be happy to share photos of what the conditions look like.
Sounds fun, actually. Yeah, Mo, drop your contact information just in case anybody's not ready to reach out right now but wants to reach out later. Okay. Well, Huli, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I think we had got great insight to what you guys are doing. So next we're going to move on. If you can stay actually till the end for open discussion, people might have more questions for you, or there's items that you might want to bring to the floor. It's basically a free time for people just to air grievances or ask for help or problem solve. But we are going to move on next to our project updates. Okay. So unfortunately, Russell Marlowe, which is he is not here today. And he would have loved this Rose Valley conversation. So I'm going to give some updates that he sent to me about Rose Valley. Okay. 1 second. Okay, so for Rose Valley, he submitted a grant application to WRGP to fund final design and permit for work. He needs to pivot, or Caltrout needs to pivot current deteriorating heliport to out of the floodplain. This work was not part of the scope of work in the previous grant. New heliport location will lead to a large restoration gains with additional floodplain restoration and a fully modernized heliport to support wildland firefighting efforts in the SSP and beyond. Likely start date, if award, in spring 2026. For Harvey, he's working to finalize grant award with CDFW to full fund securing final bid ready plans and all necessary environmental and cultural documents for that area. And Harvey is a big passion project for Caltrout. Same thing with Rose Valley. I forgot to add Zaca Creek to this because I think this is the older PowerPoint, and I apologize again to Huli for having the wrong talk on there. But for Zaca Creek, which is our new partnered project in the San Ynez, we have submitted applications of funding to WRGP to fund alternative analysis and feasibility study leading to 30% plan set. The likely start date, if these are awarded, would be spring 2026. All right. So that is for Cal Trout updates. The next would be the City of Ventura for Santa Clara Estuary. Anybody else if they're part of that?
Hi, this is Sarah Mulder with the City of Ventura. We don't really have any updates since the last coalition meeting, but the city is on track to reduce our wastewater treatment plant discharge to the Santa Clara River estuary by the end of 2025. It's approximately 60% reduction in discharge to the estuary for the benefit of tidewater goby and steelhead trout habitat.
That sounds great. Thanks for the quick update. Okay. Next we have Wichitoyo, an update on Vern Freeman and Santa Clara Watershed Monitoring Program. Tevin?
Elizabeth, can we ask questions on the updates? Or do you want to hold questions till
Can
the
I
end?
hold? Can we hold for the very end for open discussion? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Candace.
Morning, everybody. I'll try and make this quick. My name is Tevin Schmidt. I'm the watershed scientist with the Wichitoya Foundation. I guess I'll start with the watershed monitoring program real quick. Big update. We have hired new science staff at Wichitoya to help out with the watershed monitoring program. Natalia Cuellar has been, it just started with us, and they're awesome. So beyond that, we are working with UCLA right now on a habitat assessment and drought refugia assessment on the Santa Clara River watershed for arroyo toad, but I think that a lot of that data can be used for a drought refugia habitat assessment for steelhead and some of those methodologies. So I'm pretty excited about how that's moving along. And then now the bad news. So last week we were in 2 days worth of evidentiary hearings for the continuing compliance monitoring for the United Water Conservation District case. United Water operates the Vern Freeman diversion on the lower Santa Clara River, which is a substantial fish passage barrier. So United in September, well, I'm sorry, last April, United submitted a HCP and ITP application for the construction and operation of their Vern Freeman diversion with a hardened ramp structure. The bypass flow regime that they had included in that application package was likely to jeopardize the continuous existence of steelhead and adversely modify their habitat and migration potential through the lower river. They're only providing 160 CFS through the most critical riffle. We're thinking that critical riffle needs at least 500. Of course, it's going to change year to year. But anyways, we had United has gone even further than to fail to provide the right applications for that structure. They have now made a filing with the court suggesting that the hardened ramp is too expensive, and they just want to move forward with a modified Denil fish ladder, which will never meet fish passage criteria in the Santa Clara River. So we're back to square one. I'm really pissed off about it. I don't really know what to do about it. There's continued evidentiary hearings. April 1st through the 3rd, it kind of feels like we're relitigating this case in compliance monitoring, and it is incredibly frustrating. Any ideas on advocacy or, I don't know, some other plans would be fantastic. I'm almost, considering having our attorneys file a motion for contempt for United, and then us submit our own filing saying that the dam should just be completely removed if we're going back to a Denil fish ladder. So obviously that's a little bit extreme. I don't think it is, but the court probably will think so. So that's the unfortunate news on United. We are still, fighting this, and years after winning the case.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I think yeah, I'll email you about that, Tevin. We'll talk about that later. Yes, thank you for that unfortunate news. If anybody has any advice, help, the problem they want to solve this problem, help in any way, please reach out to Tevin, um, or me, and we'll forward you there. Okay, so next we have Friends of Santa Clara River. Any updates on Cisco Creek? Oops, hold on. Oh.
Yes, we had NHC and the surveyors out at Mr. Rainwater's property last week, and NHC is revising the final designs to incorporate the stream bed changes that we had due to the storm events. We anticipate draft final design revisions by the end of March, at which point we will be putting out bid packages. And we have we're doing a pilot project with the new restoration management permit that came online on January 1st. And that application's gone in, it's pending with CDFW. So we're just moving forward with permitting and bidding, with the hopes of constructing come July. So there, and as to your gut steelhead, there's southern steelhead trout, as Kyle Evans likes to call it, just below this barrier. So the sooner we can get it out, the better.
Yeah, I agree.
On that note, I don't know if folks are familiar, but there's a group called Eco Rights out of the Bay Area. They have filed a notice of intent to sue the Army Corps of Engineers with regards to Santa Paula fish ladder. Downstream of this project in Harvey diversion, there's a fish ladder that has had a jeopardy determination on it for basically since 2012. And Friends of the Santa Clara River is going to become a co-plaintiff and file its own notice of intent on that action. We're looking for, because there's been a biological opinion that's required a reasonable, prudent alternative there for some time now. And the Army Corps has pretty much been ignoring this coalition and everybody. And so legal action is now being taken.
Thank you for that update, Candace. There's a lot of ground shaking updates today. And Candace, for the next, just a quick question, just a quick update. So I know you had a question for Sarah, but Bill will be using the first portion of the open discussion, and then we'll get to your question after that. Is that okay for you? Because I know you said you had some time constraints.
Yeah, I just have to be out by 12.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. I saw something else in chat. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Okay. All right. So let's get on to this. Next is Santa Clara River Conservancy. Is anybody here from there? We're able to give updates. Okay. Anybody from UC Santa Barbara River Lab? Giving updates on their watershed water bundle management plan and then the groundwater dependent ecosystem hydrology study. Okay. And anybody from the Nature Conservancy giving update on the Santa Clara River Nature Preserve? I thought I didn't see any of these people in chat, which is why I brought it up. It always feels like an eternity while you're live on Zoom when it's only been like 10 seconds. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on. If there's any restoration projects that the COLA members have considered and want to talk about, we can talk about it in the open discussion portion, which I'm going to start out right now. In this time, you can please announce any public engagement events, meetings, updates, anything you think the coalition needs to hear about. And again, if you want to be a speaker at our next meeting, please email me. And if there's anything you want to talk about next meeting, please email me or you can talk about it in open discussion. And our next meeting is on May 14th. I want to say thank you again to Juli and our question answerers, Marshall and other people from the area. Tevin, do you have a quick thing?
Sorry, I was just asking a question if there were any updates at all on the state parks cow trout um, Range Dam
Oh, I can give that in a
upcoming
bit.
project.
Let me let Bill go first because he emailed me. But I'll give that in a bit. I wish Russell was here. But if not, go ahead, Bill. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. You keep these moving crisply along, so I'll try to be brief. Um, I'm Bill Leahy. I'm with Legacy Works. I'm the co-director for the Central Coast region for Legacy Works. Our organization is a nonprofit consultancy and that shows up to facilitate and support collaborative efforts in a bunch of different modalities, but really supporting local partner efforts to deliver impact on critical conservation and community resilience priorities. I'm here to update you on just quickly several things. We are partnering with a number of agencies here to move forward what I think is a generational opportunity to advance restoration of the lower San Ynez River. Candace may have presented an update to you all on this prior to this presentation. The two sort of big pieces there is Candace at Coastal Ranches Conservancy partnering with Vandenberg and others to advance a watershed restoration grant to begin a design process to get to a design project for the lower San Ynez River estuary. And also, good news, we have learned a couple months ago that the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and I believe this funding is still secure. Always a question in this day and age. But there's a National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant that is going to Old House and Mead Design to fund design for the restoration or the replacement of the Union Pacific Railroad Bridge at the mouth of the estuary. And Candace and Old House and Mead and their partners are collaborating on this effort to ensure that that work is going hand in glove. And we're designing the best possible nature-based solutions for the mouth of the estuary in support of a number of things, and of course, Steelhead being a major priority. The Legacy Works will be supporting community engagement and outreach connected to this with tribes, with local community in Lompoc, with other partners, conservation partners. We're hoping that effort will kick off sometime mid 2025 and probably extend through and into 2026. So obviously having the Steelhead Coalition engage in that process would be really, really important. And then this project, I don't want to say it completely is born out of, but it's actually part of, I'm going to share a screen here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if I can.
And you can take your time now. I mean, not too much time, like, like a half an hour, but just try to make enough time so people can be part of the open discussion. Sorry, apologies if I was rushing anybody.
No, I don't want to take up too much time. So Legacy Works has been working with a coalition of about 24, 25 partners locally to explore the possibility of establishing a Sentinel landscape partnership on the coast of California here at Point Conception. This map shows the current boundary, suggested boundary for the Sentinel partnership. And the Sentinel Landscape Partnership is a program supported by in statute by the Department of Defense, Department of Agriculture, Department of Interior, and now recently FEMA. To ensure that those federal agencies are working in a more coordinated fashion to support one another's programs at and around and surrounding military installations. As many of you probably know, Vandenberg Space Force Base has a vision for establishing the spaceport of the future on the West Coast at Vandenberg, which means which is already happening, but a tremendous increase in launch cadence, an expansion of facilities, expansion of their missile defense testing. So there's going to be supporting a major national defense set of objectives and priorities here. So the base, Vandenberg, is recognizing that the impact, both anticipated and current, on the landscape on a number of different ways, requires them to be thinking about broadening their partnerships in the landscape. So the partners are readying an expression of interest, which is really a pre-proposal to submit to the Federal Coordinating Committee for Sentinel Landscapes in April. That pre-proposal is laying out really just the high-level priorities for the base, the military. If you can think of this effort as managing landscapes for national security and defense, which is kind of crazy way to describe a project that's also going to advance major land and water conservation outcomes. But that's a way it needs to be framed. And so from a Vandenberg perspective, the priorities for them are to ensure that the landscape surrounding the base are being managed in a way that supports and mitigates risk of wildfire, that ensures that there is water security for the base, and that impacts the base might be having on species of concern and otherwise are being thoughtfully and planfully dealt with over time. Included in this is also ensuring that rapid development doesn't all of a sudden become an issue of encroachment and impact and compromise their ability to operate. So supporting and sustaining agricultural landscapes is an important piece of this. So right now we're in the very preliminary stages of working with the partners to kind of lay out the priorities, and those priorities, which I just touched on, are addressing wildfire risk, addressing watershed and water quality in support of multiple objectives, including water supply for the base, steelhead and other species, agriculture. Species, so thinking about species at landscape scale, when we think about plover, for example, not just steelhead, but other species that require large landscape conservation action, really sort of leaning into and creating more investment in those opportunities. And also we're looking at goals around supporting not just working lands, but public access, public recreation, particularly in the forest and along the coastlines, and ensuring that we're thinking long term about those opportunities and potentialities. So what was the last thing I wanted to say on this? Well, obviously there's significant watersheds that support steelhead in this landscape. And I've reached out and spoken to Elizabeth and Russell, and we just feel like there's a really tremendous, again, generational opportunity to advance some significant positive actions on behalf of the steelhead in this landscape. And we're hoping that the Sentinel Partnership can help with that. Finally, so what's a Sentinel landscape do? It does really kind of two major things in terms of what this group might be thinking about. And one is it advantages any projects, it elevates the visibility of any projects in this landscape for federal funding. So if there's federal funding that is part of a mix of funds to advance steelhead projects on the ground, for example, here, those projects would be receiving more attention when they go, whether it's to NRCS, Fish and Wildlife Service, or what other federal program that folks might be pursuing funding for. The other thing it does is it invests and provides more funding for dedicated coordination and support of the federal agencies, so that grant writing and coordination of projects is happening in a more effective and strategic way on the ground. And there's actually dedicated funding that supports that coordinator activity. So I'll stop there. It's a lot. This is like a big story. There's a lot to talk about, but I just want to give you all a heads up that we're working on this. Candace, who's on the line, perhaps there's one or two others here, are partnering with this, our partners. And again, Legacy Works is really showing up to facilitate and support the partners to put the best proposal forward that we can, in hopes that we get waved through for a full proposal later this year. We know it's going to be competitive. San Diego has a Sentinel Landscape Partnership they're advancing. Mojave was waved through in 2024. and there are a number around the country that are going to be pursuing the same. So we remain optimistic. I see hands up. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know if you
think,
want.
yeah. Mo, you want to go first? And also just wanted to say real quick, yeah, we're I went to the workshop and I'm really happy to be a part of this. I think it's really good. And if anybody else wants to join, please reach out. Go ahead, Mo.
Hey, Bill, nice to see you. Thanks
Hey,
for
Mo.
all the information. And difficult question here. Given the current funding state with the federal government and everything that our colleagues with the federal agencies that are experiencing, if you could look into your crystal ball, what do you see as the long-term opportunities for funding something like this through the federal government?
Yeah. So the program, our crystal ball, and our crystal ball is probably as good as your crystal ball, Mo. Because this is a military priority, Department of Defense priority, we feel like the Sentinel Partnership Program is going to has a decent shot of being maintained and funded at levels that it has been. Right now, there's already been a significant investment. Legacy Works Group National, our national platform is actually supporting the Sentinel Partnership nationally. We are the home for the coordinators and serve to support the coordinators of all the Sentinel landscapes. That is funded by NRCS and DoD through this year. Those funds are secure. Long term, will there be funding for the coordinator positions on the ground? Hard to speculate. My sense is that getting the designation is perhaps the most important thing at this moment, and that we take a long-term view of things. I would hope, of course, that we will return to some level of a new normalcy somewhere down the road. And that said, again, the military DoD, the military mission, defense mission, is still paramount for the current administration, and these Sentinel landscape partnerships are really focused on that, ensuring the military mission is protected, right? So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, Mo.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Garrett.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I see that you also had highlighted on that map the REPI program parameters that encompass those areas. And I actually coordinated with Russell to see if there's opportunities to address the Happy Valley project using Oxnard and the naval infrastructure there. Unfortunately, that boundary ended right at the 101 and didn't proceed north into the mountains, so it wasn't an option. But I have a contact with the REPI program manager. If we want to loop her into this effort, I think that'd be advantageous. It's very conservation oriented, and I think you're right on track as far as including this in the Sentinel Landscapes program, with there being no formal boundary established right now, with that program open to new possibilities. Yes, we'd have to compete with San Diego and other installations. This program is a great opportunity to leverage DoD assistance when it's in proximity to a base, and not many of our projects are. So I'm happy to jump on this bandwagon and support you any way I can. But I think with the new administration, even, I think this is a viable action item where there could be a potential great funding source here. And another advantage of it is, to the extent of my knowledge, there's no cost share requirement with it either. They just would, channel funding to support our conservation efforts.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. I also want to reflect. I was at a conference yesterday. Hooley was at with the Forest Service, and I was chatting with Jeff Hayes with Region 5, and he's been involved in. He's supportive of the Vandenberg Sentinel Partnership designation as well as the San Diego, and I think this is really interesting for this group. But he talked about how if we could get both of those Sentinel landscapes waved through, it sort of bookends the entire Southern California kind of forested landscape up through the Los Padres. And honestly, the forests are like the backbone, if you will, or sort of the keystone to ensuring that we're supporting watershed health downstream and steelhead and so on and so forth. And so they're very interested in this, and so from the standpoint of wildfire risk and wildfire resilience, really sort of focusing on that. We've actually the word resilience, I'm being cautioned to stay away from even that word and really speak to and lean on things like risk and risk reduction, and military preparedness, as we position these projects. So
No, absolutely. Be cognizant of those buzzwords right now that you don't want to trigger any opposition or scrutiny for. Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Real quick before we jump into more discussion, Ninha? I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Do you want to announce what you just put in the chat real quick, and then we'll get on to Candace's question?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you for giving me a chance to talk. My name is Nina Monk. I'm a Watershed Stewards Program Corps member, serving at California Fish and Wildlife Santa Barbara. And there are 3 other Corps members serving here. So we are out in the field a lot doing riparian and steelhead surveys. And as part of our service term, we have to host some volunteer events in our community that are focused on restoring riparian habitat, or enhancing our watershed overall. And so we have a couple watershed awareness volunteer events coming up, and that's what I shared in the chat. So we have 2 Eventbrite links posted at the moment, and we'll have 1 more being posted in the future. So if you're all interested in volunteering or know someone that would be interested, or if you could share these Eventbrite links broadly with your constituents, that would be amazing, because we want to engage the community in some hands-on watershed restoration.
Sorry for mispronouncing your name, Nina, but yeah, I'd be happy to. Is it all right if I make some posts on social media about it? Make some nice little graphics?
Yes. Yeah, we have posters
Oh,
made as
great.
well, so I can email those to you after the meeting.
Please do email those after the meeting. I'd love to do that. Bill, is there anything else you'd like to say before I cede the floor to Candace? She's been so patiently waiting.
no, I do not want to take Candace's time.
Oh my goodness. I was like, what is my question again?
You're asking
But,
the city of Ventura about something.
Sarah, I was wondering, I believe this has gone to the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board already. Can you give us an update with regards to that process and what timeline you want there for that permit or approval from the regional board?
Yeah, absolutely. This reduction in discharge is actually required by the regional board. It's really as a result of our treatment plant's NPDES permit requirement to reduce our discharge by the end of 2025 to this first phase. And then we have a long-term estuary monitoring program going on to determine if we should further reduce discharge to a scientifically recommended level of 0 to 0.5 million gallons per day. So that I guess first phase reduction will be monitored for a couple of years, and then results reviewed to determine if we should continue the rest of the way. And the city's Ventura Water Pure program is accepting the, I guess you could call it diverted discharge, is kind of how we frame that for potable reuse. And I'll drop in the chat, there's a Ventura Water Pure program webpage that has a lot of information, and our city library of reports website has a lot of background documents. This has been decades in the making, and we're getting really close, so we're excited about that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Candace, any more? Because we have plenty of time
I
now.
would just say that the proposal that we at Coastal Ranches Conservancy submitted to CDFW's Watershed Restoration Grant Program was initially for 30% design and feasibility study. In conversations with Wildlife Conservation Board, we have actually been prompted to expand the scope to 65% design and permitting. We'll hear back from CDFW whether or not this project gets funded this March. But essentially, we will most likely be expanding scope and doing another submission to Wildlife Conservation Board so that we can get as far along as possible. And CBEC Eco Engineering is supporting us on that effort. Coastal Ranches Conservancy is also currently in settlement negotiations with state parks with regards to the diverted flow from Gaviota Creek that's impacting public trust resources, as well as the mitigated estuary work at the Gaviota State Park campground that was not implemented. We've been in settlement negotiations for some time now, and I envisage we'll probably actually have an outcome by the end of March. As with regards to our litigation against Caltrans for take of endangered species on Gaviota Creek, we are also in settlement negotiations with Caltrans. However, we still do have a trial date set for this April. That said, I don't want to gloss over the devastating news that Tevin shared. You know, Caltrout has had a litigation against United Water Conservation District, which Toyo has now, and it is highly frustrating, to say the least, that after what feels like almost 2 decades of litigation, we are back to square one. And I think this coalition has done a study about the potential for damnless diversion. We have commented on HCPs in the past, and I think it would be appropriate at this critical juncture to maybe write a letter again, I mean, I don't think as a coalition we can do an opinion piece, but certainly stakeholders in this group should be talking about how ridiculous this is. Yeah.
Thank you,
Tevin,
Candace.
do you want to talk about that?
I honestly, I think I need to do more research on damless diversion. I think that by the time that I was involved in this case, the unfortunate preferred alternative from plaintiffs was a hardened ramp infrastructure because it was the best possible design to provide volitional fish passage. But that being said, I would much rather prefer a damless option at the Vern Freeman diversion. I think that the increasing concern from us is that the judge in this case is only concerned about saltwater intrusion in the Oxnard basin. So, you know, and not really understanding that United's job as a water conservation district doesn't mean that their only option is to pull more water out of a river. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that it would be helpful, you know, to have, you know, letters from the coalition, you know, bringing this up to the court, but I don't know, difficult space.
So, Tevin, if you have any like a letter example or something like that that we could work with, as well as who to contact on that, that would be helpful. In order to write a letter, or if you have a letter that we can kind of crib from, that would be great.
Thank you, Mark. So, I'll work on drafting something up.
Okay. You can send it to me. I can put my email in the chat if you like.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think you're right, Tevin. I think it's time. It's, you know, one of the things we got to do is come together, coalition, and help support each other. So, yeah, we'll stay on top of that. I'll have try to set up a meeting with you, Russell, and me too, Tevin, because there was some other stuff talking about that and some other Caltrop meetings. Okay, so Tevin, you also asked of me. I will give you ask questions and I'll give answers. Ringe Dam update. Nothing major from Russell. Parks looking to make dam removal project. Alternative decision in spring with 30% dam removal plans in late summer 2025. That is moving along. Ringe Dam is like in full support. It's still getting lots of support, and they're moving along with the steps and process to really tackle that. Caltrot is really committed to taking that down as one of our priority dams after moving on from Klamath. And then from our outreach coordinator for Ringe, in general, the schedule is on track and fire impact studies are still being conducted on the fire that was happening around Ringe Dam. All right. I think that's like our backlog of things. This is truly open discussion now. I see people putting in stuff in announcements in chat. If you want to put your announcement out, now is the time. I cede the floor to everybody who wants to come in and jump in and just start talking, or if they have questions for Huli, Bill, anybody else? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Jill.
Hi, I wanted to introduce myself, Jill Murray from the city of Santa Barbara, and Tim Burgess is also on this call from the city of Santa Barbara. I just wanted to say a couple of things. This coalition is new for us, and Russell shared with me that it's expanding its geographic reach. I hope I understand that correctly. So we would be really happy to be involved in these calls. We have put in a couple of projects and have a couple more to do on Mission Creek. And what's really interesting for us is that the Creeks Division was founded in 2000 by well, the concern for Steelhead was one of the major reasons that the Creeks Division was founded. And then it's kind of seemed like the public interest in the Steelhead has kind of faded away. And we were so happy about the town hall. I really compliment Fly Fishers and Caltrout for that event. I thought it was fantastic. And we have Creek Week coming up in September. And that is really a bunch of agencies and nonprofits from Carpinteria to Goleta put on creek-focused events that week, and it could be a great week to bring back the Steelhead Coalition to this area and help out, and maybe think about an event that could educate and interest the public. Also, I work on the water quality side, and I'm always interested in partnering on water quality studies that might impact Steelhead. We're working on a study of microplastic in urban runoff right now, and it's turning out that 80% of the microplastic in most studies for stormwater is tire wear particles. I know that those are extremely toxic to some salmon, but I don't know much about the impacts on Steelhead. So if anybody wants to reach out to me about helping me interpret our data when we have it, that would be great. And we also have a creek buffer ordinance that we are trying to bring forward right now. And so the city of Santa Barbara, we're really the only municipality on the South Coast that doesn't have a buffer. And you could go to our website. If you Googled creek buffers in Santa Barbara, it would come up, and you can see that comments are being accepted up through March 24th. And I think it'd be really interesting to hear what any of you might think about protecting the passage areas through urban Santa Barbara to upper watersheds that are critical habitat. And I think that's it for me. And I know Tim will probably want to say something about a couple of projects that we might have in the future.
Yeah, you guys did some great work. So I went to your like watershed tour you guys had.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Jill, can you put your email in the chat, please?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jill. I don't really have too much to add. We've had a lot of projects, creek restoration projects, fish passage projects, and I can put the link to that buffer ordinance in the chat as well for the website. And yeah, public comment. Any kind of feedback that we get is important to be able to this is a draft right now, and yeah, like Jill said, we're the only ones that don't have it, and it's to protect property safety, but also to prevent further hardening of the creeks, which is detrimental to fish passage, as you all know. So I'll throw that in there. But yeah, thanks for inviting us.
No problem. I guess, like I said, anybody who wants to come to the meetings, just pour it through. All right, Abigail?
Hi. I also have an announcement similar to the city of Santa Barbara. This spring, early summer, probably April through May, we're going to be bringing our what we call the initial study assessment guidelines for our CEQA reviews for projects that we get and determining their significant impacts. That document hasn't been really updated since 2011. And so it would be great, and I'd be happy to send a link when public comment is going to open on that. And I think it would be really, really important to hear from those from the environmental community on making sure that it's strong and makes it through. Thanks.
Great. Please put your information in chat and we'll be able to send it to you. Okay. I think Michelle said she has to leave, so let me get her going.
Thank you so much. I wanted to update you all that since we've passed our deadline to introduce legislation, this AB 269, our
bill. Can you say where you're from real quick?
Oh, from Assemblymember Steve Bennett's office. He has authored AB 269 with Caltrout and Trout Unlimited as co-sponsors of this bill, which is our dam safety and climate resilience local assistance program. It makes dam removal eligible for funding through dam safety and climate resilience, LEP, which is meant to provide a safe alternative to ongoing maintenance for dams that no longer provide public or environmental benefits by allowing dam operators to remove their dam facilities. So again, we just introduced it and should be in print, but I've included the link to the bill in the chat if you're interested in looking at the bill text itself and where it currently stands. And if you guys have any thoughts or feedback, please let me know. Thank you so much.
Great. All the links in chat, I'll be putting in our wrap-up email. All right. Abigail.
It was still up. I forgot to put it down.
Oh, okay, great. Go ahead, Regina. I think you're still muted, Regina.
Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Regina Hirsch, Watershed Progressive. Three things. I put a link. We're going to be hosting the Localizing California Waters annual meeting. So it'll be a statewide meeting, but focused on the Ventura River watershed this year in November. And we're looking for anyone who wants to support and be advising on that. So just contact me. Secondly, through an EPA wetlands grant that somehow we did secure most of the funding with Ventura County Resource Conservation District, we're going to be updating a few policy pieces for stream flow, including the Ventura in-stream flow toolkit. And so that's almost done and ready for review, and I'll be sending that out to all of you if you want to look at that. Those are land-based and programmatic practices for the Ventura River watershed on how to reach stream flow enhancement. And then thirdly, we do have additional funding from the Department of Water Resources for direct install of turf projects that can add up to healthy, resilient watershed communities for the Ventura and Santa Ynez area. This is also a statewide effort. There's 5 other regions. So if you know of any other demonstration projects that have turf that it's all paid for, the planning, design, training, workforce development, development monitoring, and Pacific Institute is going to be doing a case study of all of those. So if you have a project in mind that could help Steelhead, that also has turf, it could get transformed into a healthy landscape, watershed healthy landscape. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Regina. Yeah, put your contact information in chat. All right, Candace, go ahead.
I'm got my keep my SSC fly fisher hat on now. We have partnered with Friends of the Santa Clara River. We're entering into a lease agreement. Essentially, Friends looking into expanding Hedrick Ranch nature area. And then the SSC fly fishers is going to be putting in a fly fishing casting pond on the property, but that is going to be one component of like an outreach facility at this expansion of Hedrick Ranch nature area. It's the parcel abuts onto Hedrick Ranch nature area, but it's closer to South Mountain Road, which provides a better access point for bringing in school groups and the public. So there's space for like a storage facility for education facilities, as well as a casting pond. And then part of that process is also to enhance in-stream habitat along Lost Creek, which is a spring-fed creek that joins onto the main stem of the Santa Clara River. An interesting little anecdote there is that Sandy Hedrick, the owner of the property, caught his first trout on the Santa Clara River main stem on Lost Creek. So we know that it's a groundwater dependent ecosystem, and we're going to try and enhance habitat along that section of the main stem.
Cool. Thank you for the update. We just got so many things in the fire, Candace. It's great. Okay, Nathan. Or Nate from Santa Barbara Channel Keeper, I think. Oh, you're not muted. You're not unmuted yet.
There, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so just wanted to, Brian put it in the chat, but if you would like to join our sign-on letter in support of the creek buffer ordinance, please reach out to me or to Brian. I can put my email in the chat, but yeah, we're hoping to show support for that. It's really important, and it's some great work that the Creeks Division are doing. We'd like to support it, so love to have you join on with us.
Thanks, Nate. Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who may have come to our town hall meeting last Sunday at the Libero Theater. And those of you who didn't, we missed you. So I know there was some of you here that didn't make it, but we had a great presentation with 8 presenters on a panel discussion process that went on for a couple of hours, including questions and answers. So it was a great event. I think about 200 people came, which was a real, I think, plus to educating residents of Santa Barbara on steelhead issues, both in the Santa Ynez watershed as well as our local creeks here. So I just wanted to say thanks for those of you who did come and participate with us. Cal Trout was a partner in all of that, and we are kind of doing the public outreach and communication process relative to our Zaca Creek project that Elizabeth talked about earlier today. So
yeah,
thanks to Nathan. He was one of our panelists. So all's good. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you, Mark. It was awesome event. We appreciate you hosting us.
Yeah, it was a great event. The fly fishers will be our public outreach partners. They'll do public engagement. Yes. Okay. Wow. I thought when we got to open discussion, we had like 40 minutes left of the meeting, and that went by so fast. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. If there's anything else you need, please reach out to me in email. I'm going to just reply to our event with all the information that was put into this chat so people can look at it later. I'm going to use my last 2 minutes for my soapbox. We need a speaker for our next meeting. So if you would like to talk about your work on Steelhead or management project or something adjacent to Steelhead, we are looking for somebody to speak. So please reach out to me if you're interested in giving like a 15-minute talk. As you can see, I'm trying to limit it from being too long of a talk because there's so many other things that are being used in this meeting. And I'd like to let you guys speak more freely with each other and have more open discussions. Thanks everybody who came here today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the rain. Be safe. And again, if there's anything else you need from me, please email me. And yeah, I'm looking for anybody who is in the professional restoration space for a talk on steelhead restoration. All right. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. And I will see you all in May. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Elizabeth.